Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Colossal Rattlewurm, a new spoiler from Thunder Junction. So, the card was just spoiled today as of the recording of this video, and I wanted to talk about the new card just because I feel like it's not, I don't want to say necessarily a new milestone in Magic, but this card is just really sweet, and I really wanted to talk about it. So, all right, let's go and hop into it here. And obviously, spoilers ahead because it's a brand new card that's being released. So, Colossal Rattlewurm is a 6/5 for 2 green with Trample, which by itself is already incredibly ahead of the curve. You know, most of the time, when we see 4 drops nowadays, they're usually like 4 or 5s with value. If it's green, it'll be like a 5/4, that kind of thing. But this is a 6/5, which is gigantic. It also has flash as long as you control a desert. So we kind of have like a pseudo Advent of the Worm kind of style card. So, okay, anyway, so it's already really good. 6/5 for Trample for 4. It also has haste if we have a desert. And then for 1 and a green, we can exile it from our graveyard and search our library for a desert card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So we get a really good sized body. And if it dies and goes to the graveyard, or we just dump it into the graveyard, with like milling or such, then we get to search for a desert and put it into play tapped and ramp ourselves. So this card is really good. I mean, I would say in terms of, like a monster-esque, 3 to 4, maybe even 5 drop, this is probably one of the better green creatures we've had, at least go through standard in a little while. This card is definitely very strong. So, a couple things I want to talk about today. We're going to kind of go over some cards that it works well with in 60 card formats, a couple of commanders that it works really well with, and then kind of some closing thoughts. So let's go and hop into like the 60 card, more Pioneer-esque cards that work really well with the Rattlewurm here. So, okay. Obviously, we have the deserts of the past. We have Hash Oasis and Scavenger Grounds, which are really good deserts from Hour of Devastation. There's a whole bunch of deserts that came out from that block, but I would say that these ones are probably the best ones on average. So, obviously, they're untapped deserts that can help cast our worm, give it flash, and we really don't have to do anything crazy. We just play some deserts. Hash Oasis is already really good by itself, and then Scavenger Grounds is a fantastic utility land that you can play in deserts. The last card I wanted to include is Thought-Knot Seer, but not even just Thought-Knot Seer, but really just the Eldrazi that require colorless in general. So, for those who are familiar with the format, Eldrazi already plays a whole bunch of the deserts. It really just depends on what style you're playing. Obviously, if you're playing green, you play like Hash Oasis. If you're playing red, you're playing Ramunap Ruins, and so on and so forth. So, since we're already playing a ton of lands that tap for colorless or colored mana, it naturally is a good fit with a whole bunch of the Eldrazi from like Oath of the Gatewatch, for instance. So, I think that it could be a really good 1-2 punch aggro deck, like having Thought-Knot Seer and Reality Smasher. You could also play even like Mattery Shaper, for instance. I think that it definitely has a lot of potential with those type of decks, maybe even you go like a Simic Splash, so then you have like the Rattlewurm as flash, or you could possibly have an Elder Deep Fiend, for instance. Definitely a ton of deck building options for the most part with the Rattlewurm. So, next thing I want to talk about is a couple commanders that this works really well with. Obviously, we have Baru Worm Speaker. It gives our worms +2/+2 and has trample. Obviously, in itself, it's just a vanilla good worm. You can play a couple deserts in your mono green deck, for instance, the deserts that we just showed off. You can go ahead and grab the one that cycles for green and 1. You can just grab all the colorless deserts. That way, if you really want the Rattlewurm to have flash, it will definitely have flash. You can also play it in a Hazazon. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I've never pronounced that before. Or the new Yuma Proud Protector that was spoiled today from Outlaws at Thunder Junction as well. That is the face card in the commander deck. So, you got 2 desert synergy cards. And obviously, if you're playing a desert synergy commander deck, you're going to want the Rattlewurm. Because, again, it's a really big sized body. It's always going to have flash pretty much if you're playing deserts. I mean, obviously, you're going to be playing like every desert that's within your color, so you're gonna be able to cast it, that kind of thing. And obviously, let's say it dies, someone kills it or whatever, you just go and exit from your graveyard and grab another desert, which then synergizes with Hazazon and Yuma. So definitely a couple different good options there, and obviously we'll kind of see as spoiler season goes on if there happens to be even more cards that synergize really well with the Rattlewurm. So, okay, So let's go and hop into the final thoughts here, just kind of the additional things I wanted to mention that didn't fit in with the rest of it. I think this card is awesome. So I love worms. Like, worms has always been one of my favorite creature types for the most part in the game, but obviously worms, you know, other than like Worm Coil Engine, have not historically been very, very strong. I mean, this card's really good. You know, you don't even need to play a worm deck to really make this card work. If you're playing a mono green stompy deck, you can just play the Rattlewurm and then just happen to throw in a couple of deserts. Heck, even if you didn't play any deserts with this card and you just played as a 6/5 for 4 with trample, this card is absolutely incredible. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, this is like, you know, 25 years ago, but man, you know, I remember playing Yavimaya Worm in my green deck, and it was a 6/4 trampler for 6 mana. And then now, obviously, you know, it's been a long time, but now we're getting it at 2 less mana and an extra toughness that can get flash, and it can get harvested from the graveyard to actually have some more value. So anyways, the worm is really, really sweet. I'm very excited to see if it's a player in standard. Green, I would say, is probably the worst color in standard, but hey, it's a 6/5 for 4. I mean, we'll make it work. If our opponent just doesn't have removal for it, they're pretty much going to die to it. And also, even if they do have removal, we get to ramp ourselves to maybe play, you know, something bigger like a Titan of Industry or something like that. But we'll kind of see what happens. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on the Colossal Rattlewurm. I think this card is really, really sweet. So that takes us to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching this video. Feel free to check out other videos on the channel. If this is your first time watching a video from the channel, we do a lot of deck techs and paper videos and such like that. And keep an eye out for, at the end of the set, when it fully comes out, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite cards that I think are going to have an impact in Pioneer as a whole. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.